All right, so today I want to update everyone as usual, as well as get to some other stuff, and there's definitely some important stuff that's came out. So let's get right into it here. Alberta is up to 1,075 cases with 107 new. So that's up 10 from yesterday, but down 10 from 2 days ago. So the last 3 days, the average has been 107. So we'll see. We'll see what it's like in the coming days. Let's hope it goes lower. We're up to 18 dead. Canada's up to 11,854 cases with 157 dead. So again, we're still hovering around that 1.5% death rate. Alberta's actually probably slightly higher than that. But again, the chances of this of dying from this if you're under about 60 and healthy, extremely low. If you're over that and or have health issues, yeah, it's something you definitely want to worry about. But like I've mentioned in past videos, and I'm going to keep mentioning it because I think it's very important, I think that looking back at this, we will regret completely shutting down the economy. Personally, I think that anybody who is, under, that 50 to 60 range and is healthy shouldn't have left work. I think that, maybe, schools and places where there's, massive amounts of people in a small area, but, small to medium-sized businesses, I don't think should have been closed. And even a lot of, I don't know what the exact number would be, but in areas where there's hundreds of people, all in the same building and it's not a huge building, I think you could make the argument that those should have been closed. But again, like small to medium sized businesses, I don't think should have been closed. I think that we should just rely on people, not just rely on people doing the right thing, but we have to, it has to be socially enforced that if you know someone who's sick or someone who is at risk, tell them. And if they don't listen, get mad at them that they're not taking the proper precautions. Not this government totalitarian, we're going to track and listen in on everything you do, that with the whole Justin Trudeau app that they want everyone to get. But again, that's just my thoughts. Again, I may be wrong, but I think looking back at this, in the history books, that we'll look back at this and be like, hey, they really destroyed their economy over something that more than likely wasn't worth it. Now, I understand the argument that because we're taking it so seriously, it'll be easy to look back at it and say, hey, it wasn't that bad. I understand that argument. I understand that more people would get it, probably more people would die, but I don't think it's worth ruining the economy for years to come and possibly having the worst recession of all time because of this. I don't think that it's that bad of a thing. But anyway, like I said, that's just my personal thoughts. If you want to disagree, go ahead and disagree. I'm not gonna fault you because again, I could be wrong. But again, that's my prediction. That's what I'm thinking. But anyways, like I said, there's some other stuff to get to, so I want to get to that. This is a big one. This is from Pierre Poilievre. He goes on to say, concerned manufacturers of Canada just testified at Finance Committee that the carbon tax is driving jobs and businesses into welcoming arms of foreign countries. And again, this is something that we already knew. I mean, we already knew when you have massive amounts of red tape and taxes, people leave. It's not a complicated thing. It's like, um, it would be like, would you rather work at this job where they make you go through, an hour's worth of checkpoints and fill out massive amounts of paperwork? Or would you rather, go work at another job where they're going to pay you more and you're not going to have to do that? Like, it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. And the amount of loss because of this is absolutely astounding. And the people that still defend it too, it just boggles my mind. And they come from the aspect of, oh, if you disagree with climate or the carbon tax, that means you think you're a climate denier. Well, no, it makes absolutely no sense. I know plenty of people who are against the carbon tax but believe in the concept of man-made climate change, which I don't believe in either one of them. But again, you can agree that climate change is an issue and not believe in a carbon tax, because anybody who believes in a carbon tax doesn't have critical thinking skills whatsoever. Number one, we know because in BC their carbon tax has done nothing. They've reduced emissions by 0.5%. And if they would have not implemented the carbon tax, turned around and reinvested that money in their province, they would have probably, gained 10, 20% more. let alone, not 0.5. That's hardly even measurable. So we know that the carbon tax doesn't work. Like, why is this even still a debate? Why is it still a debate? It makes absolutely zero sense whatsoever. Um, but anyway, I wanted to make that up, or sorry, to bring that up. And what this guy says down here too is a very telling point. He comments. It says, just as taxes and red tape always do, Canada has been happy to demand extremely high taxes and standards from Canadian businesses while happily importing cheap products from countries with no standards where women, children, and gays are abused and killed. Brilliant strategy. And again, it makes no sense whatsoever. And the one thing that I heard another guy I listened to bring up, that if this leftist, this is a little bit off topic, but I wanted to bring it up. This leftist strategy of running businesses and running things actually worked, then why aren't tons of these leftists, especially in more liberal areas, um, why aren't they opening businesses where they have the minimum wage is $20 an hour, maybe even more? You get a month of paid leave every year. You get all the benefits. You get as good a benefits as any company gives. And why don't people do that? Why don't people do that? Well, they don't do it because if you did that, for, let's say, you're a competitor of Tim Hortons or Starbucks, well, you'd have to charge 10, $15 for a coffee. You'd have to charge 20, $25 for a more premium, latte or something like that. And well, why does no one do that? Because they know it's a failing business model. And we know it's a failing business model because if it's a business model that works, all these jobs wouldn't be leaving Canada. And it's just sheer ignorance. And you have all these people bring up, well, it's inevitable. It's going to happen anyway. Why isn't it happening in the other countries then? The other countries aren't implementing all these BS regulations, and we're realizing just how bad exporting all our jobs are now anyway. Look at with China. China's absolutely screwing us over. I mean, Justin Trudeau's happily going along with it, but they're completely screwing us over. And if we wouldn't have exported and um, shipped all our jobs overseas, we'd be doing perfectly fine right now, and we'd more than likely be even richer. And again, a topic that makes no sense. And I'm not even sure why it's a debate. Like, again, government's own numbers show that it doesn't work. And not only that, it's a tax on everything. Everything is shipped. Everything, like most of these, I was looking at these masks and the aprons and all this stuff that they're using, to help quell the spread. Those are made from petroleum, which again comes from the oil and gas sector, which obviously is something that's gonna get more expensive. So it makes, like I say, zero sense, and it absolutely boggles my mind. But anyway, um, let's get to something else here. This is from Jason Kenney. Now, he goes on to say, I'm insulted by the Trump administration's attempt to stop vital medical supplies from coming into Canada. This is not in anyone's best interest, and it's how friends and neighbors treat each other when things. It's not how any people treat each other when times get tough. And again, I don't understand this whatsoever, and it's a time when I really have to disagree with Jason Kenney, which there is a decent amount of those times. Most Canadians probably would agree with Jason Kenney when it comes to this, but it makes zero sense. And this is something that I can't stand. Like, people that, like, these Canadians and these Americans are like this. Trump finally, and Trump supporters grow a pair of balls, for lack of a better way of putting it, and we criticize him for that. As Canadians, we should be up in arms that Justin Trudeau and the Liberals sent, what was it, 16 tons of our medical supplies to China. Why aren't we more up in arms than that? Trump's doing what's best for his country. That's what he said he was going to do. He's been America first before he was running. It would have been blatantly obvious to predict that he was going to do something like this. Why aren't we planning for the future? Trump's doing what's best for Americans, and we're sending our supplies to the country that started this in the first place. Again, come on, like Jason Kenney, get your head out of your you know what. Justin Trudeau, get your head out of your you know what. Trump's doing what's best for Canadians. We need to do what's best for Canadians. Now, the reason why most people disagree with this is that what Trump's doing is, typical nationalism, doing what's best for his own country. And we've relabeled nationalism as this bad word that, oh, it's racist, it's all this stuff, when it really, no, it isn't. It's not. You got it. It's how the old saying goes. You gotta, get your own, when you're on the airplane. They always tell you, put your own mask in case of emergency, put your own mask on before you help others. Because if you try to help others, well, you're not going to be much help to others because you're going to die. And that's what we're trying to do, is that we're not helping ourselves out whatsoever, and we're going crazy trying to help other people who most of them don't deserve the help in the first place. Like I don't get it. Like I don't get it. We should take this as an example. Hey, this is an example of what a good world leader does. Trump. Again, this is another reason why I tacitly support Trump, because he does get these kind of things right. And why I'm very skeptical of, namely Jason Kenney, is that, hey, we should have been doing this beforehand. We should have been doing this before. It's not like we didn't have forewarning. And it's not like, even at that time of sending all that stuff to China, like, again, why did we do that? Why did we do that? Again, makes no sense. Um, Getting to this story, or this tweet from Maxine Bernie here, he goes on to say, Keynesian economics, obsessed with spending, encouraged by artificially low interest rates, has only brought mountains of unsustainable debts and reoccurring crashes and made us vulnerable. We need to relearn the value of thriftiness, supported by sound, responsible policies. And this is the main thing that should come of this whole coronavirus thing, is that if there's one thing that we can learn, one thing that we can, I mean, we're not going to learn it. I guarantee I'd be absolutely shocked if we learn it, but I'm gonna talk about it anyway. Is that this way of running society with massive amounts of debt, with, again, artificially low interest rates, um, all this kind of stuff, personal debt, the government running debts, doesn't work. It's going to blow up in our faces. It's going to collapse. It's going to royally screw us at some point, whether it's now, whether it's down the road. It's going to happen, and we can't keep doing it. And for the simple reason that when one of these things happens and we're not running massive deficits, the market corrects itself. The market corrects itself. And no government figure can predict what the best thing to do is, because if they could predict what the best thing to do is, they could be filthy rich in the free market by investing. But again, makes absolutely no sense. Well, I mean, it does from the sense of the people doing it, right? Like, the politicians want to buy votes, and the general population wants free stuff. That's how it makes sense. But again, it's going to blow up in our faces royally in the long run. Absolutely screw us as hard. Again, at some point, in at least in someone like my life, I would say in anyone's life who's under like 40, 50-ish, there's going to be the worst recession we've ever seen, whether it's going to happen now, whether it's going to happen down the road. And I think maybe then we'll learn. Maybe then we'll learn. But again, there's going to have to be an incredible amount of pain and suffering for people to change their ways. We're probably too far gone. And again, I've been warning. There's been people that would pretty much agree with me. They've been warning about this kind of stuff for 20 or 30 years, and yet, do we listen? As a society, do we listen? No, we don't. We'd rather have our free stuff and all this kind of stuff that anybody with any shred of critical thinking skills can tell that it's not going to last in the long term, and we have to get more, again, we need to relearn the value of thriftiness, supported by sound, responsible policies. But again, probably not going to happen. The last thing I wanted to talk about here is from Ezra Levant here. He goes on to say, this insane conspiracy theory that masks are dangerous is going to get people killed. It's on par with the theory that the virus is caused by cell phone towers. Why is Trudeau's CBC publishing this disinformation? And again, this is, again, fake news. Masks help with this kind of stuff. Masks help if you're sick. Masks help if you don't sick. They always praise, South Korea, and that they've one of the countries that's clamped down on this best. And that what do they do in the Asian countries? Well, guess what? Everybody wears masks, because it makes it almost impossible for it to spread. Because, hey, if you cough, it's just staying in there. You can't. If you touch the outside of the mask, who cares? All that would matter is if you take the mask off, touch your mouth or your nose, and then put it back on. That's when it would have issues. But again, that doesn't really happen, right? So again, anybody talking about this, and this the Tam person, she was talking about it. I don't think she said don't do it, but she was very skeptical of it. And again, we have CBC doing it. Again, this is fake news. Masks help, and that's one thing about another culture. that I will definitely admit that we need to improve on as a Western, I mean, we're not really that white anymore, but as a Western culture, that hey, we should be doing more of this kind of stuff. We shouldn't be shamed too. Like someone out, even let's say 10 years down the road, when this is long in the back burner, um, anybody out in public wearing a mask shouldn't be shamed. You shouldn't stare at them. You should be grateful because there's someone who's sick, who's proactively taking measures to try and not get other people sick. Again, they're doing the right thing. And again, this whole, we've had these, high level health officials. We have the CBC talking about this kind of stuff. And again, it's wrong. It's not true. So I wanted to bring that up. And again, that's basically all I have for today. Like I say, there was a lot of important stuff in there. There'll be more important stuff. There was some other stuff I wanted to get to today, but I don't want to make the video like 30 minutes long. So I'm going to leave it for tomorrow. Um, I will be putting on another video later today, so stay tuned for that. I do have my PayPal and an email link in the description for e-transfer or any donations. Again, I appreciate it, but at the very least, just hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already.